start the meeting today, Ms. Roby.
Roll call for the City Council meeting of March 4th, 2015 at 9 a.m. Mr. Brennan, Mrs. Rankunso, Mr. Jones is absent, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mirsky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon. All please rise for a moment of silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes from the meeting of February 21st, 2015, and bills for payment on March 6th and 13th, 2015. Mrs. Rankunso, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mirsky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan.
Okay. Are there any requests for repository sales today? Are there any requests for repository sales today? Without any, we will go to citizens to be heard. And I believe we had a person sign up, but they didn't get on the agenda. Mr. Barnes, did you want to go first for citizens to be heard today?
Morning, Council President, Council, Administration, guests. My name is Randy Barnes, 109 Walton Point. My subject today is, we know what it is, $80-some thousand in free coffee. I noticed, and I think we all have noticed the condition of the streets, and a lot of that has to do with the condition they were left in last fall, which wasn't the best, but it was the best we could afford. But I was hoping that I would let the citizens know that, there's $18,000 left on this contract for this retired city clerk. We've yet to find out what he's been doing for the last 4 or 5 months. In fact, we've yet to even see him in City Hall much. But there's $18,000 left, and I was thinking, well, we could be paving like more than half of a block of a residential street for $18,000. So what I want is, as you citizens see your council people out there, I know it'll be on your mind about, hey, am my street going to get paved this year? It's pretty bad. But you have to remember there's a lot of expenses in City Hall, and we can't pave all the streets. And one of them is we have to pay a retired city clerk $12,000 a year to, let me go back to the memo so we know exactly what we're paying them for. The memo from then President Witherspoon. He said that to the mayor and to the Solicitor Carley, said, we want to pay this person $12,000 a year because we want to avail ourselves of his institutional knowledge and training of the current and future employees. Now, I'm wondering how long is this training got to take place? And is 2 years enough? Has the replacement clerk and the other 2 people in the office been trained yet? Because I'm thinking from this memo from then President Council Mel Witherspoon, less than a year ago, March 7th last year, that we had to have him here to train the clerk and the other 2 employees. Now, do we have them trained? Because if we have them trained, maybe we don't need to pay the balance of that $18,000. Maybe we could use that $18,000 and we could pave someone's residential street. So, to review who voted for that, there was 4 council people, of course, that voted for that $12,000 a year for a 2-year contract, and that was Jessica Rankunso, Curtis Jones, Jim Winarski, and Melvin Witherspoon. Now, those are the 4 people that said that it's more important for us to give a retiree $12,000 a year for 2 years than it is to pave a street. Because the streets, they come underneath having this retired city clerk come back and train the current employees. Had to train the current employees at $12,000 a year. We talked about that. It ended up being $50 a day every day City Council or City Hall is open. Remember last meeting there was a whole group of college students here who would love to wake up in the morning and find $50 on their nightstand for something legally that they've done, like the retired city clerk gets $50 every day the city hall is open. And, what this does is give you four council people, Winarski and Haran Kunko and Curtis Jones and Witherspoon, a chance to speak to Mr. Flowers. Tell Mr. Flowers how off kilter this Barnes is, because these are all the good things that Jim Clem has done for us. These are all the good things on the list he's done that's helped reduce our taxes and make City Hall run more efficiently. You have that chance today to go to Mr. Flowers and ask him if his newspaper won't do an article and say how smart we were, Kunko, Jones, Winarski, and Witherspoon, for voting to give this guy a part-time contract. Have Mr. Flowers put in the Times News, let his editorial board editorialize on how smart you four were for spending the taxpayers' money and paying this city clerk to come back and train the existing employees. Because I think politicians love to talk about their votes. They love to justify what they've done. And you have the reporters here. Please, get with those reporters today. List those accomplishments. List what that man's done for $6,000 in the past 6 months. List what he's going to do for the next 18 months or $18,000. And tell the city taxpayers, that is more important than paving your street. That's more important than buying a camera for a police car. Because this Mr. Clem is doing the city's important work. Because we know 4 people voted for it. Who were those 4? Let me remind the taxpayers and the voters. Thank you very much. So I'll do that in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Any other citizens to be heard?
Morning, Council. I want to echo.
Mr. McDonald, your name and
Oh, y'all don't know me?
please.
It should be a picture of me in your mind.
Thank you.
McDonald, property, 19th and Reed.
Appreciate it.
You got me now? Okay. We could find money for everything, but we can't find no money to help those centers that those kids go to. Or if you don't do something for them pretty soon, they're going to fall down. Is that what you're waiting on? Or are you waiting to give them to those foreigners that's coming over here? Something's going to happen, and some of this I'm talking about is going to be included in it. I don't know why. You could find money for everything, everybody. Here you got 2 buildings down there tax-free. You're finna build another one tax-free. When you don't charge taxes, you're putting the load on the taxpayers, property owners, because that's where you're going with it. It don't make sense to me. You're supposed to be intelligent peoples up there, and some of you are. All of you are not on the same limb, because that limb gonna break, and somebody gonna fall off of it, and then you're gonna be wondering, what happened? Why me? Why me? Why not you? You made bad decisions. And most of them you make are bad because you're not doing nothing for the people. But you keep the administration satisfied. The people voted you in. The administration didn't vote you in. And I hope when voting time comes, the people remember that. Y'all took our time. You stole it. You didn't take it, you stole it. But you're all honorable people. Now, some of you wasn't up there when that time was taken. And all I asked you to do is we don't need the date, just stack that 5 minutes up on them other 5 minutes, because that's all we have. Y'all won't listen to that. You should think about it. You really should think about it. I'm telling you what's for real. Everything you do is not right, but you ought to try to do some right things sometime. You're not up there for the administration. You're up there for the taxpayers. I can't see nothing you did for the taxpayers. Honest to goodness, I can't. If I could, I would say so. But you're not up there for the taxpayers. And a lot of you up there wants to be the future mayor. You can't even run, you can't even work on city council right. How you going to be a mayor? When you're a mayor, you got a lot of peoples up under you. The whole city. Look at our president. He got a whole country and other countries too that he have to look out for. And he get no credit at all. He's not looking for no credit. He's just trying to do the right thing. But being a man of color, he's in the wrong place anyway, as far as a lot of you all are concerned. But one of these days, you're going to look back at him and you're going to think, oh, we had a wonderful man. We just didn't appreciate him. The Bible speaks of we're supposed to hold our leaders up. How can you hold somebody up kicking you in your butt all the time? Well, how can you? You can't do it. Kick me in my butt, I'm going to cut that leg off. Yes, sir. And then you want to put me in jail or kill me or something. I'd rather for you to kill me. So I don't have a lot of time left, and a lot of you up there have less time than I have, and I'm older than all of you. I want you to get on the right page. Show the peoples that you're trying to do something for them. I come over 29th Street. Bad road. They're going along. They're not even blowing it out, just putting something in there. That's job security there. You do it right, it'll last a while. That's wasting money. I worked construction all my life. I know when we're getting screwed, and we're getting screwed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Are there any other citizens to be heard? Are there any other citizens to be heard? Are there any other citizens to be heard? Seeing none, we will go on with the rest of our meeting. Ms. Roby?
Ordinances for final passage. Council File 15910, official ordinance number 8 of 2015. An ordinance approving the plan of the Erie Sewer Authority for the issuance of an aggregate amount not to exceed $30 million taxable sewer revenue bonds, series of 2015A, and tax-exempt sewer revenue bonds, series of 2015B, and setting forth the amount, interest rates, and the maturity dates of the bonds, authorizing the authority to proceed with the plan of financing, authorizing the execution and delivery of a lease agreement and the incurrence of lease rental debt thereby, authorizing the specified officers of the City of Erie to prepare and certify the debt statement and to do all other acts necessary to carry out the provisions of the ordinance, setting forth the payment of the sewer revenue bonds and the source of such payments, repealing all inconsistent ordinances and providing that the ordinance is effective immediately. By Mr. Mursky and seconded by Mr. Witherspoon, that Council File Ordinance Bill number 15910, and now known as Official File Ordinance number 8, 2015, be finally passed by the City Council. Mrs. Rankunso.
Mr. President,
Yes.
could I just make a comment about this? I think other council's members may have comments as well. To clarify, we did have some further discussion in our caucus session regarding this sewer bond, and one of the things I think we've heard some hesitation on some parts of the other municipalities that participate with use of the sewer facility, and we did have some discussion about that, understanding that this is not necessarily like the shining star of options that we have right now, but this is a good option for us in terms of extending the debt and reducing our current payments to the bond payments to debt service. So this will also, in some small way, reduce the townships that use the sewer authority's obligation to sewer flow or payments, because their flow is based on, their charges are based on the amount of expenses we have prorated to their flow. So if our expenses go down in the immediate term because we have a reduced debt service, so will theirs in the immediate term. So although this may not be the greatest and most perfect fix. It is a fix for us to reduce our bond payments in the short term, and this will not be affected. Increasing those bond payments will not come into play until 2026, so that does give us some time to deal with that inevitability, but it's quite in the future. So I just want to make sure people knew the reduced cost of debt service right now will be reflected on us and also on the members that share the sewer services. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kunso. Is there any other discussions from other members of council on this issue?
Mr. President.
Mr. Mursky?
Just one other note for the citizens. While we were in the caucus room gathering information, it was relayed to us that if we did not pass a refinancing, our citizens' sewer rates would go up $45 a year. And I was not prepared to do that to the citizens of the Erie this year, put a tax increase and a sewer increase in the same year. $45 a year is just wasn't palatable at this juncture. So given those options, stretch out the debt a little farther or put it, increase sewer fees this year. That's why I'm voting for it, is to stretch it out, to give a little bit of relief to the taxpayers, knowing that we increased taxes this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mursky. Any other comments from council?
Sure, Mr. President.
Mr. Mursky?
I think what Mr. Mursky was trying to say, it wouldn't have been for this year we would have had the sewer increase. It would have came on next year's budget, which by passing this today, it gives us a little breathing room for 2 to 3 years down the road, where we're farther ahead doing it this way. Nobody likes, it's not the perfect plan, but it's the best option we have, and keeping our tax-paying citizens in mind as well as ourselves. So that's why I'm voting to keep it the way it is, voting for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mursky. Any other comments? Any other comments? With that, Ms. Roby?
All right, roll call. Mrs. Saran-Kunso, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. City Council passed official file ordinance number 8, 2015 finally by yeas 6, nays 0. Ordinances for first reading. Council file number 5911, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $13,500 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof. Contribution is from the Sisters of Mercy for the purpose of police equipment, fire prevention supplies, or equipment and winter maintenance equipment. By Mr. Kwiatkowski and seconded by Mrs. Saran-Kunso.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Mursky.
I just wanted to just publicly thank the Sisters of Mercy for providing a payment in lieu of taxes of $13,500 to the city. Well, it's a donation. They don't formally have a pilot, but a donation. We need more nonprofits to step up and do that, give money for public services, fire, police, and thank you. I know there's 3 of us on council that were educated by the Sisters of Mercy, and perhaps more, but I know Mr. Jones and Mrs. Saran-Kunso and myself were, and so and they are in the city of Erie, so thank you for giving money.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr.
I'd like to say that while I was controller, that it was a pleasure to get this check every year. And the sisters never really wanted any publicity. And I'm glad that we're giving it to them, because every year they'd call my office and ask me if the check came in. They were concerned. And they always asked the police, fire, and public works what they could use, and it was a big help. It was anything from vests to oxygen equipment for the firemen. So, we appreciate this and wish we had more groups like this. So I'd like to thank the Sisters of Mercy also.
Thank you, Mr. Kwiatkowski.
Mr. President, can I just make
Yes, Ms.
one?
Kunso.
I'm going to get in trouble with Sister Felice, but This money comes through Mercy Terrace Apartments, and I just wanted to let everybody know that every year, they try to make municipal contributions, not only to the city, but also to the school district and the county of Erie. And the same thing like Mr. Prior Controller, when he was in the office, where we get the call and say, what is this money? What do you need it for? What can we, what can you use it on? They also inquire with the school district, and they're always very pleased to help in any way that they can. And a lot of times, the money that is donated to the school district is used for the school nurse and for use with kids who maybe come to the nurse's office and need a pair of pants, a shirt, things to take home, soap, shampoo, deodorant, stuff like that. And so it's just one way that they try to help all around. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Ms. Roby, you want to continue with the meeting? Thank you.
Yes, by Mr. Kwiatkowski, seconded by Mrs. Rankunso, that council file ordinance number 5911, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by the City Council. Mrs. Rankunso, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. City Council read and adopt council file ordinance 5911 by yeas 6, nays 0 on first reading. That takes us to new business, Mr. President.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to move the balance of the agenda.
Do we have a second? We have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Thank you. Do we have any separations? With no separations, Ms. Roby?
No separations?
No
Okay,
separation.
moving the balance of the agenda, Mrs. Rankunso, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Brennan. And that'll take us to committee reports, Mr. President.
Okay, let's start with Mr. Kwiatkowski today.
Oh,
Your report. I'm sorry to surprise you there.
Well, that's okay, no, I'm ready. It'll be a brief report. I know people like that. Attended the Airport Authority meeting recently, and pleased to announce that they're doing excellent work in trying to secure some new routes to the Erie area. The one most mentioned was the Newark flight, which for Erie people, we've never really had a connection to the New York market in quite a number of years. I think it was back in the 50s or 60s when they flew into LaGuardia. So, along with the Chicago flight and the possibility that Atlanta may be added or kept in addition to Detroit, adds a nice feature to the airport, and I think then people will start to see the value as of the runway extension. There was also talk about, a couple of the airlines are talking about upgrading their equipment, which translates to more seats, better seats, and better flying conditions. And just like to thank the snow removal crews. They were out yesterday in the inner city in my old neighborhood, and a lot of the neighbors called me to thank us for clearing out many of the streets, which for the last couple of weeks have been pretty well clogged in. I know they get a lot of abuse sometimes, but they have been out there working pretty good, and I'd like to thank them publicly, and also thank the police for their recent success in closing down at least one bar that's been a nuisance to the east side. And I know some of the neighbors that have contacted me about the problem are feeling a little bit better, that I think they can finally see some light possibly at the end of the tunnel. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kwiatkowski. Mr. Winarski?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning once again to everyone. Just a few comments. Did attend the AMTA board meeting this past month. Really nothing there to report on. Did attend the Port Authority meeting. Naturally, if nobody has heard, icebreakers coming in and may affect some of the ice fishing out there. So to our fishermen out there, please be cautious. Tax Review Board did specify 11 parcels down on the bayfront that are taxable. Whether those are going to be fought against or not, I don't know yet. According to Ms. Brenda Sandberg, they are going to meet, and we may have further developments on that, but it does represent roughly $48,000 to the city in tax dollars if this does stand. Our city streets, please, all our citizens and visitors, don't come to us yet. Please be patient. This is going to be probably one of the worst springs and thaw periods on record. It's already starting to show out there, and unfortunately with the temperatures that we're still dealing with and the moisture and the thawing, this is not going to be a quick fix. So drive safely, be patient, be careful. I know the mayor mentioned he's going to come up with a pavement plan in the spring here. It may have to be adjusted a little bit, unfortunately, due to the extreme winter we've faced this year. So once again, please be cautious and patient with all of us. The only other thing I have, the Erie Otters, it was nice to hear that we do have a local ownership interest in the team. Everybody knows I'm that hockey fan, so if everything goes well here, hopefully we'll still keep our Erie Otters here no matter what whatever it takes to keep them here. But other than that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winerski. Mr. Witherspoon, you have a report today.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I believe one of the issues has been talked about, and I advise and encourage the administration that whatever it takes to have enough money in the street repair budget, do it, regardless of what folks may say at the mic. Just transfer whatever is necessary. It's an act of God. Our streets are bad. Nothing that you did or didn't do. When I say you put the money in there, and if you only get one vote, it will be mine. But I think we'll be okay. But as Jim indicated, we have to drive safe. I see people dodging potholes and almost hitting a person, so it's best to kind of slow down and go through the pothole than hit a parked car. But and some people just don't slow down anyway. I had the opportunity of presenting Mark Rosenthal from the DA's office, Detective Rosenthal, with the same presentation I made to our officers at our last meeting. Mark served alongside our officers at our summer league, and we had 0 incidents simply because of their presence. Thank Chairman Fiore Leone for that opportunity. And Mark said he'd be more than happy to be there again along with the city officers. So I was very happy to see that. I want to thank the Bayhawks. They are winding up their season. I believe they have about 4 or 5 more games. And I believe we should make the playoff. We can win 2 or 3 more. And they'll be around for a while. They keep asking me, do I have 1 more game left? I told them to see my 6 doctors. No, but enjoy the game. They bring a lot to our community, and Matt Braziz does a fine job as our local president. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Witherspoon. Mr. Mirsky?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few things to report. As the liaison to the Neighborhood Watch organizations, I attended the Neighborhood Watch Council meeting, the Southeast Hills Neighborhood Watch meeting, and the Hess Ave East Ave Neighborhood Watch meeting. The big takeaway from all 3 of those was Dave Dieter was there from the Neighborhood Resource Organization, and he has a few things to report. The first thing was they're having a talk at St. Peter and Paul's Social Hall on 34th and Wallace on March 11th on how the criminal justice system works. And it's really interesting. They're going to have everyone there from the police through the judges, public defenders, And everyone, everyone, U.S. attorneys, Chief of Police Randy Bowers, District Attorney Jack Danieri, Sheriff Loomis, Judge Sandbrook, State Parole will be there, Adult Probation, the Chief of Mill Creek Police, Juvenile Probation, and the Director of Public Safety. Starts at 6 o'clock, and if you want more information, you can call 572-0755. Again, that's on 572-0755. And that's on March 11th at 6 p.m., how the criminal justice system works. Also, the Neighborhood Resource Organization has many grants available to our Neighborhood Watch organizations. Anyone who wants to apply for those, just contact Dave Dieter at the NRO, or you can log on to nroerie.org. And also, they have, right now, the county just announced they're having their Greenways grants. And those are good for neighborhood watches as well, and to fix up your community parks, beautification, green space. And you get those through the Erie County Planning Department at 451-6018. The application is also online on the Erie County website. And that's all I have to report for today, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mirsky. Ms. Kuntzel?
Thank you, Mr. President. I did want to draw your attention to an item that was on the agenda regarding lien forgiveness of a property in the East Bayfront. This piece of property has been under some conflict for several years, and today we acted to forgive the liens on that property so that that property could be sold to the Bayfront East Side Task Force for them to be able to put two lots together and build a new single-family home in that neighborhood. We all know the success that the BEST organization has had in revitalizing the Bayfront East Side, and we certainly want to assist them in any way we can in continuing on their program there to make those reinvestments of single-family homes there. So I just wanted to clarify that item. We also had some discussion with Kim Green regarding the Community Development Block Grant process. There was a public hearing held yesterday regarding the 5-year plan, taking public comment for that plan, and also there'll be another meeting being held, she said, most likely in the evening on March the 19th. And so they'll be asking for public comment on uses of the Community Development Block Grant monies. That monies is designed to help low to moderate income groups to improve the city and the locations, both either physical locations, improvements of rehabilitation for homes, but also programs that can be provided. Every year we talk about the Community Development Block Grant money and how that money will be allocated between community policing, between neighborhood centers, between rehabilitation and redevelopment of homes. And each year that piece of the pie gets smaller and smaller and smaller. She did say that likely cut somewhere in the ballpark of $400,000 in the Community Development Block Grant monies for this coming year, which would start July 1st. So I think that's always disappointing to us, and we're always at the receiving end of citizens' comments that are concerned that we're not putting more of an investment of those funds back into certain agencies. They just don't have it. The funds decline each year, and we're sort of subject to using the money, spreading it pretty thinly across all the need areas in our community. I did want to mention one positive thing. Mr. Rick Griffith has invested in the townhome project in the Mid-City project, and we've seen his good works on many of the 12th Street corridor, on the West 12th Street corridor, and also at Lovell Place. And so I don't just want to thank him, appreciate his investment in our city, and look forward to him working the project to successful completion. Also, we do have Erie Area Council of Governments meeting today at 3 o'clock, continuing to work on cooperative projects with our member municipalities, and that meeting will be held out in Lawrence Park. And that's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Kuntzel. Ms. Controller, any report today?
Just briefly, my office has started working on the state report, and we'll continue to work on that for the next couple weeks, and then we'll get it filed in plenty of time before the due date. So more will be coming once that report's done. I'll let you know when it's filed.
Okay. Thank you for your report.
That's it.
Administration?
Good morning. Just very briefly, a reminder that we do have 2 police officers who will be sworn in tomorrow morning at 10:30. Of course, everyone is invited to come to room 500. It's important that we recognize these officers and their families as they begin their position with the City of Erie. That's all.
Great. Thank you. And I had a couple of things to review. I didn't not talk about the restructuring of the sewer bond earlier. I just want to give a couple comments. It was a tough decision. There was a lot of thought process involved, and there was a lot of discussion, questions back and forth. But in the end, we're trying to save money in the short term, so this refinance is really going to help us do it and not raise sewer fees. So, but the goal is to save costs for everyone. We're not just doing it to just do it for the long term. It's really for the immediate need of keeping our taxpayers and not adding fees to what they already are paying. So we're doing this for our taxpayers, and it's going to be a good thing in the end. A couple items to mention here as far as meetings I've attended. Attended the City of Erie, the Economic Development had a meeting on food outlets in the city. This has been a continued discussion and need, and specifically food outlets in the Central Business District. Members of the committee had visited Pittsburgh to look at some different outlets down there and see what they're doing, to see what lessons can be learned. But we're going to continue these discussions and keep coordinating efforts between the organizations that are involved. There's many organizations that have been involved in this meeting, and try to get some solid actions as we go forward. Also, the City Council, we had a study session with the Neighborhood Resource Center last week, or the week before. Dave Dieter, the Executive Director, came and discussed the work that he's doing there. Really kind of laid out a lot of what their organization structure is, some of the current activities, some of the partnerships, and also the discussion was on the Unified Erie Violence Reduction Initiative. So it was good to hear that and be informed of all the activities going on. And there is an upcoming meeting I wanted to mention. Our West Bayfront is an effort with the West Bayfront Initiative in Gannon. They're going to be announcing a neighborhood revitalization plan. That's at Emerson Gridley School, Friday, March 13th at 10 a.m. And with that, that'll conclude the meeting for today.
City Council adjourns at 9:44. Mr. Brennan, Mrs. Zarankunso, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Mursky, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon.
I told Curtis.